So I'm going to quickly tell this story about uh, my father's blessing. Now, I'm an atheist. Going to get that right out of the way right away. I always was. I really never bought into uh, any of the religious thing that was going on in my family and in my home. But my father, from a very young age, would bless me. He would uh, just put his hand on my head, say some words, sometimes bend down, kiss my head, and this went on, and it didn't bother me until I got a little older, and probably maybe more, my young teens, mid-teens, and maybe a little more militant in my atheism, and I wasn't up for this, and he would try and bless me. I'm like, get away. So he would ambush me. He would do these ambush blessings where he'd pop out. Ah, you're blessed. I get away. But as I went off to school or to work or something, he wouldn't say anything, but I knew what he was doing. He was put his say goodbye, and he put his hand on my shoulder or on the back of my head, and he'd be silent, and I knew what he was doing. He was blessing me. Which was, as I grew older, it became sweeter, and I was more able to accept it. And when he was dying, he was in hospice, and it was near the end, and we were out in the garden, and he asked me. He said, "Is there anything else? Is there any more questions you have?" And at this point, we were beyond questions and answers. We were just being for the time together. And I said, no, I have nothing to ask, but could you give me a blessing, right? And he immediately said, yeah. And he's like, sit me up, because he had cancer in his back, and his wheelchair was sort of tilted back, and he sit me up, and I went, no, I'll hurt your back. And he goes tilt me up. So I tilted him up, and I could see he was in pain. So I got down on one knee so he could easily do it. And so I got down on one knee, and he put his hands on my shoulder, then my head, kissed the top of my head, said some words. I'm not going to tell you what the words were. They were mine. But they were honest and meaningful and beautiful and final. And he kissed my head, and when he was done, I propped him back so he could be comfortable, and that was that. So it was a nice ending, even for an old atheist like me. It was actually very sweet and meaningful, and he passed away. This was probably one of the last times that he was coherent. So I'm glad I asked then for this. But it was quite lovely. And then he passed away maybe a month later. But it's something I have, which is nice. And that's it. Oh, and when I wrote about this, I'm a writer. My new book is To Refrain from Embracing, loosely based on my family and what it was like growing up in a working class steel town. And I based it loosely on my father. My father had a lot of trauma, was a very complicated man. We didn't always see eye to eye. So it was a nice way of ending, I think. I should be so lucky.